Hey, Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Jason. Excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Tell us who you are, what you do.
I live in Basalt, Colorado, and I'm an SEO agency owner. I've been in the service of offering SEO services for about the last 15 years, and then I also am a co-founder of a small software company.
Awesome. And how did you get into the agency space? I mean, you've been doing it for 15 years. Doesn't go back as I'm trying to remember. Yeah, 15 years ago wasn't where you could actually put the keyword in the background and
You
put it
still
the same
could, yep.
color.
Still kind of worked. It was just at the end of that glory era, or hide the text on the page and all those kind of practices that now in retrospect are pretty comical. But I started actually. I was in a totally different industry space. I worked as a ski patroller here in Aspen, Colorado, and a mountain guide. And I took a course at our local community college on HTML and CSS and computer things. And I found myself like skipping powder days and sitting on my computer. And I know it's kind of crazy. And I was a year or two out of like my formal education in college, and just kind of thought this was a little bit of a hobby on the side. And before I knew it, I landed a job at a local agency. And I took the open space they had, and I was an SEO account manager, and kind of quickly moved up the ranks and ran their department for a year or two before deciding, that I'd like to build my own business and go out on my own.
That's cool. And so what did you charge your first client with SEO?
Good question. So I had a business partner actually and good friend. And so when we started our agency, we had one client. We charged them $500 a month. They were a real estate agency. And the only thing we got right out of the gate was the concept of charging per month. And so if we learned one thing in the agency space, it was the power of recurring revenue. And I know that was what I was measured against, in my performance reviews and compensation. Working at the agency is like, if you're at this bench of recurring revenue X, if there's this, it's Y. And so I quickly picked up on the business side that it's not about one-time sales, but really that relationship business model.
So why the $500? I mean, I start off with $500 websites too. Most of the people, when I do ask them on the show, it's $500.
That's a really good question. I don't remember why the $500. And but that was the number. And I don't remember what they were paying on top of that for Google Ads, because our agency offers SEO and Google Ads services. So we would have been delivering both for that price point.
Oh my gosh.
So that makes it even worse, right? But it was $500 a month. And we worked from a home office. And the best part was that within the first year, we had built our agency to have the same enough recurring revenue to pay ourselves salaries that were higher than what we were making working in the agency. And that's what we really defined as success. So this sort of year one ramp up went pretty well and felt like we built, a little sustainable business in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love when I hear people make the same amount or go a little bit above what they used to make at their real job.
Yeah.
And then they're able to kind of move on.
So it was a relatively good ramp up, and it wasn't long before, in year two, we were able to hire team members and increase our profitability and really go from kind of being an owner operated model to actually having some scalability.
Let's talk about SEO. And before we talk about the things that are changing in SEO, let's talk about the things that will never change in SEO.
It's a great question. So I would actually kind of tell you, since we're talking about from 15 years ago to today, that SEO has only gotten, in many ways, easier as a service to deliver, because the things we were talking about of really great value years ago are still the same things that really matter. And Google's just gotten better at actually genuinely measuring them and rewarding them. So they've always said this is important, but when you think about what isn't going to change, user experience. So you've got to have a well-built, secure website that has a good feel, look and feel, design, aesthetic, et cetera, easy to use. So user experience is still the high bar. And so fortunately for most digital agencies, they're already providing a great user experience. So they can kind of check that box and help evolve it. The next is content powered by genuine experience and expertise. So that's always been the name of the game. The bar has raised on that. So we were creating kind of lame content 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and getting away with it. Now the bar on content is much higher, but I actually find that to be far more enjoyable because you're really proud of the work you're creating and delivering. So that content piece. And then this concept that there has to be some external signal around a brand or a business that validates the content's expertise. So whether you look at that from a standpoint of backlinks, links from other websites that are sort of in your neighborhood and add value, or you look at it from something like Google Maps reviews for a local business, or if you look at it from the perspective of sort of building an author authority around the thought leaders behind the website. There's a lot of ways to think about that kind of external component, but the sites that are doing well today just get those three things right, which are pretty straightforward. Great user experience, good content that's not powered by AI. It needs to add value to the conversation. And then you get out there in the world, and whether it's you get those reviews on Google Maps or you jump on a podcast, that kind of build an ecosystem around your brand. And so for me as an SEO provider, it's more fun to offer SEO services today because that's all kind of real world marketing. I can explain that. But also, I don't sit here and watch for algorithm changes. I don't sit here and panic that I'm going to come to work and, the rug's pulled out from under me. Because these are the things that are the long run holistic approach to SEO that make it so that you kind of have a future proof strategy.
Hey, agency owners, if you're sticking with one platform for every project, you're probably stuck in a growth bottleneck. More clients means more hires, which adds noise and cuts into profits. To break the loop, you need a more flexible tool that doesn't stretch your resources. Now, Wix Studio is a smart addition to your agency's toolkit. Intuitive by design, your team can quickly master the platform and focus on the work that matters the most. Now, with robust native business solutions like booking, e-com, and events, you can take on any project at any scale without adding cost to third-party plugins. Plus, Wix Studio is a low-maintenance platform, meaning you can redirect client budget toward real growth initiatives. Think more value for your clients, steady income stream, and stronger relationships. Scale your agency at wixstudio.com. What are the things changing now, right? Like I'm seeing and hearing a lot of people talking about people are going to ChatGPT rather than Google a lot of times, right? Or maybe they're going to Bing, which I always kind of laughed at. I'm like, why would you ever want to be ranked? I mean, I'll rank in Bing. Like I want to rank in Bing, but right, they're like, oh, if you get ranked in Bing, that's really AI and then you'll be set up. So what can we look forward to and what can we do?
So right now what we're experiencing, and we've seen this in the past, and that is kind of a rise of kind of what you could call an alternative search engine. So, a year ago we were all talking about AI. Now we're talking about AI actually having a little more access to like real-time information. You can go into something like a Chat GPT and say, what's happening this weekend in Denver, and actually get a response that's timely and structured sort of in a new way that you might see some advantages and disadvantages of from something like searching for that same query on Google. So there's this rise of the concept of the alternative search engine. And, there can be a lot of statistics out there about, in different industry spaces, different ages and demographics, et cetera, how many people are sort of potentially testing these out as a viable alternative to Google. And a lot of people look at this as saying, well, then SEO is dead. Like that's the quick takeaway. But that's pretty much the question and comment people have made to sort of be splashy in this industry for the last 15 years that I've been in it. Like it's the same conversation every year. Should I invest in SEO? Should I offer SEO services? Is it even going to be around? And our answer is generally speaking, yes, it's going to evolve and we might see some trends and some different changes in user behavior, but the value of having visibility on Google is still going to be sort of part of a business's long-term marketing capital. So right now, as agency owners and providing the service, we're monitoring the rise of alternative search engines and kind of assessing where does that fall into our world, this concept of like generative engine optimization. Is that going to be in our wheelhouse? Is that going to be part of SEO? But what we can tell is the content we're creating for clients that we're doing with the umbrella of SEO is helping them in those, generative searches, et cetera. So there's this extending value and a lot of value in being able to help clients navigate the transition. But I kind of liken this back to when social media went from being a place you share pictures with your friends and colleagues, etc., to actually being a place where a lot of folks go to actually search for information and take that proactive instead of kind of reactive, passive approach. And did that mean the demise of Google and search engines and SEO? No, it just meant some shifts in user behavior and shifts in our marketing efforts.
Yeah. I just got the new Apple phone and they said there's Apple Intelligence on it. And I'm like, this is the dumbest phone I've ever had. Cause I was like, is it going to, like, could I go to and be like, who is the best, blah, blah, blah. And is it going to give it to me rather than having to go to an application or go to a website to do that? I think that's coming, but I laugh, when people say, oh, SEO's dead. And we should probably do that as a thumbnail, just as fucking clickbait to
Yep,
get people to
it'll
click
work.
on it. Be like, surprise, no, it's not.
It's not. I think some people want it to be done. But when you look at it back to the frame we gave you in the beginning, you realize like, wait, actually, this is all like, it's kind of a rising tide that lifts all boats. Like most of those things are things you need to be doing because you care about email marketing, social media, digital marketing as a whole. And so, yes, you might sell it as a service under the umbrella of SEO, but the reality is it's, kind of a growth marketing, it's just marketing.
Yeah. I mean, I love what Tony Robbins says is like, we're all drowning in information, but we're starving for wisdom. Right. And like, if you go back to the kind of the three principles that you told us in the very beginning of like, hey, you create a great user experience, put great content out, and you show it's relevant. Why wouldn't the AI bots put that on the top? But I'm constantly like, one of the things I like doing is like, I'll go to ChatGPT and be like, all right, ChatGPT, who's the best agency mastermind? Let me tell you who the best mastermind is. And then I'll like put in or like maybe, and
Training
I'll
and
be
that.
extra nice to it.
Maybe one user, yes, those are always good examples. And we're going to see that with clients, right? Like they did this with Google, years ago. I just feel like clients just constantly searched and searched and searched for themselves. And there was this rise of like personalized search. You had to re-educate them about like, well, your experience is becoming different because you're doing it in a weird way that nobody else is interacting with the tool. Yeah, we'll see how things go in the
I don't
AI
think it
era.
works, but it just makes me feel better.
Yep.
It's kind of like when, I go way back to when Overture or Yahoo Marketing, when you can actually see what people were bidding for pay-per-click. And then I would be like, oh, I'm going to click on my competitor 800 times, be like, right? And then they fix that. So
They picked up on that one.
they're like, oh, Jason he literally has no time. He literally like charged $80. Like, and I thought that was big time.
Yeah. And that's kind of been one of the other areas in the SEO space is that's really come out in the last year. And that really just further kind of validates this more holistic approach to SEO, which is that user behavior and user data as part of Google's algorithms. And it's something that we long suspected as SEOs. But in the past year, the antitrust lawsuits that Google was involved in required them to reveal more of their patents than they had previously. And it validated this concept that Google in its algorithms and part of its sort of superpower is that, by having a lot of people use Chrome, by having you log into Google, you see your little profile photo in the upper right. Google has a ton of click data and a ton of behavior data and the ability to process that data and learn from it. And so with that data, there's a lot of self-fulfilling prophecy. And we're seeing it in our own marketing over and over again. Like you publish a blog post, it gets a little bit of traction and then it has good dwell times and people download the thing on the blog post and then they go somewhere else and then they come back and they revisit this. Google's clearly learning from that user behavior because posts with high engagement end up getting more traction and then they get higher engagement and then they get more, it just keeps kind of moving up. And so that's been the other really area of, hey, if we create really great content, present it well, et cetera, there's this self-fulfilling prophecy that it's going to rise in the search engines. And it's been validated, intrinsically that this is a big part of the algorithm.
Now, are you just doing SEO for just Google or are you doing it for any other platforms too?
Good question. So, when I say Google, I kind of just mean the trifecta: Google, Yahoo, and Bing. We're based in the US. Most of our clients only really care about traffic from Google. So we, in Google Analytics, we look at it as in aggregate as a channel. So organic search, we don't spend a lot of time breaking it down by search engine. But when we're doing something like rank tracking or just kind of tooling, spend more time in Google Search Console than, Bing's counterpart and things like that. So yeah, sometimes I say Google, but I kind of mean all search engines. And really, when we chat with clients, a lot of times we try to get rid of a lot of industry jargon, and so we just talk about it as getting found on Google. Like, get rid of the SEO and words that they don't understand. They understand this desire to have visibility on Google and build it as a channel.
That's cool. Well, Lindsay, this has been great. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners listening in?
Fellow agency owners, are thinking about adding SEO services and kind of wondering what its future is, et cetera. Our clients still asking. Our experience right now is, our agency is still growing, even in this niche market of only really providing SEO and Google ads. And that, yeah, it's this rising tide that lifts all boats. So kind of, great recurring revenue model. And I think Google keeps us pretty future proofed. It's going to keep evolving, and clients will keep seeing value from it as a channel, and value of it from you as guiding them through all of the evolution. So yeah, that's kind of the take home.
Well, awesome. Well, Lindsay, thanks so much for coming on the show. If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe, and share it out with everyone. And until next time, have a swank day.